A dreary November fog had settled in. Having left our bags at the Lamberley Inn, we took a winding, muddy ride to Ferguson's ancient farmhouse locally known as the Cheesemans. On the thick gold wooden door was carved a picture of a man and a round of cheese. Ferguson led us into a large room with enormous oak beams and a huge old-fashioned fireplace with a blazing fire, yet the crumbling building gave off an odor of age and decay.
What's the trouble with your dog?
The vet doesn't quite know. He thinks it's a temporary kind of paralysis, but you will be well soon, won't you, Carlo?
Did this come on suddenly?
Yes, quite. It came on overnight, just about 4 months ago.
Remarkable. It definitely suggests things to me.
Such as what? This may be just a mental puzzle for you, Mr. Holmes, but it's life and death to me. If you know something, tell me.
I fear there is a pain for you, Mr. Ferguson. I will spare you all I can, but I cannot say more at this time. I hope to have something definite to say before I leave this house.
Oh, I hope so. If you will excuse me, I must check on my wife. Our host left us and Holmes began examining items in the room. I never tire of observing him at work. He walked around the room, peering closely at everything. He lifted and weighed objects in his hands, held them up to the light, and then gently replaced them. I could only imagine what he might be thinking. This is Dolores, Mrs. Ferguson's maid.
My mistress is very ill. She needs a doctor.
I would be happy to be of service. Do you think she would see me?
I do not need to ask. She needs a doctor. Where is my husband?
He wishes to see you.
I will not see him. I will not see him. What shall I do with this fiend?
Can I help you?
No one can help. All is destroyed.
Madam, your husband loves you dearly. He is deeply saddened by all that has happened.
He loves me, yes, but what of my love? I sacrificed myself rather than break his dear heart, and yet he could speak of me so, think of me so.
Will you not see him?
No, I cannot ever forget that look on his face. He cannot understand, but he should trust.
Go now. Tell him I have a right to my child.
She is ill, but I believe it is from nervous exhaustion. She will not see you, and she wants her child. How could I send her the child? How do I know what strange impulse may come upon her at any moment? Can I forget the blood on her lips? No, I cannot! Anthony will stay safe with Mrs. Mason. Holmes said not a word. Shortly, Ferguson collected himself enough to look up and observe a servant standing in the doorway with the tea service. He bade her to come and serve us. We sat down and began to sip our tea, and Ferguson seemed to calm ever so slightly. In a moment, we heard a movement again in the doorway, and we all looked up.
Oh, Papa! I am so glad to see you. I didn't expect you so early.
Dear old chap, I came home early because my friends Mr. Holmes and Dr. Watson have accepted my invitation to spend the evening.
Is that Mr. Holmes, the detective?
Yes.
And your other child, Mr. Ferguson. May we meet him as well?
Certainly. Jack, ask Mrs. Mason to bring Anthony down, please. Fancy anyone having the heart to hurt him.
Good day, my little man. You have made a strange start in life.
As we stood with the child, I chanced to glance at Holmes. His intent eyes and hawk nose were set as if they had been carved in ivory. His eyes had taken in father and child. They had then moved with eager curiosity onto something at the far edge of the room. Suddenly, all Holmes' attention seemed to be on the window with one shuttered pane. I could almost see the wheels turning inside his head.
Nurse, I should like a word with you, in private, if I may.
Oh, why, certainly.
Just as I suspected. What's Mrs. Mason like?
She's not soft, like some, but her heart is as good as gold, and she is devoted to little Anthony.
Do you like Mrs. Mason, Jack?
No.
Jack has strong likes and dislikes. Luckily, I am one of his likes. Now run along, Jackie, my boy. I apologize, Mr. Holmes. I fear I brought you on a fool's errand.
To the contrary, Mr. Ferguson. Although this business is delicate, I had already come to my conclusions about it before I left Baker Street, but I need to observe everything here to confirm my deepest suspicions.
For heaven's sake, Mr. Holmes, how do I stand? What should I do?
I owe you a full explanation, and you shall have it, but permit me to do this in my own way. Is the lady able to see us, Watson?
She is ill, but making sense.
Very good. This must be cleared up in her presence. My dear Watson, pray be good enough to give this note to Mrs. Ferguson's maid. I believe her mistress will see us all.
I had not viewed Holmes penning the note since our arrival, and I could not imagine what it might say. Nevertheless, I returned to the heavy oak door and passed the note to Dolores. A moment or two later, I heard a cry from within the room. It held a mixture of joy and surprise.
She will see you. She will listen.
Now, Mr. Ferguson, my methods will be direct. Your wife is a good and loving woman.
Prove that, Mr. Holmes, and I shall be in your debt forever.
I shall, but first I must break some unpleasant news to you.
I don't care as long as you clear my wife.
The wound on your son's neck was not made by teeth, and it was not made by your wife.
Then by what? Or by whom?
The wound was made by something small and sharp, most probably one of the tiny arrow darts on your living room wall. If those darts had been dipped in curare, a prick with one of them would cripple or kill your baby son. Curare is used by certain warriors in South America to kill or paralyze animals in a hunt. You must suck the poison out of such a wound. Your wife was not trying to kill your son, but to save him.
Camilla, I'm so sorry. Why didn't you tell me? Who would do such a thing?
I fear too that your dog is not ill but has been poisoned.
But who? Who would do such horrible things?
I hate to tell you, Mr. Ferguson, your wife knows the truth, but she could not say it. She knew it would break your heart. It is your son, Jack.
Jack?
I'm afraid it is so. I watched Jack's reflection in the shuttered window as you held the baby. Such jealousy, such cruel hatred, I have seldom seen on a human face.
My Jackie?
You must face it, Mr. Ferguson. He has become excessive in his love for you, and probably in his love for his dead mother as well. Jack's very soul is consumed with hatred for your splendid infant, who is healthy and given affection just for living.
Surely it can't be true. This is incredible. Why didn't you tell me, Camilla?
How could I tell you, Robert? It was too heartbreaking for you to believe me. It had to come from someone else's lips. This gentleman seems to have the power of magic. When he wrote that he knew it all, I felt that I had been set free.
I think a year away at a challenging school with counselors who can help him deal with these feelings would free up the young lad's mind and heart. Only one issue is still clouded. I understand that you would do whatever you must to protect your child, but how did you dare to stay locked up in here, fearing for the baby's life?
I warned Mrs. Mason. She pledged never to leave the child unguarded, and I trust her.
I thought as much. She would not tell me this, but she did say that the danger to the baby had not yet passed. I felt sure she knew the truth. This, I fancy, is the time for our exit, Watson. I think we may leave them to settle the rest among themselves.